Before I make the motion that we go and open up the public hearing, I want to let everybody know you put a Bible in front of a preacher, and you're all in the pews. The invitation is to preach. I have a motion to open up our public hearing.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, we're into our public hearing. First on our list is Susan Benning, Director of BHM Library. 3 minutes.
All right, 3 minutes. I'll do it fast. First of all, I'd like to thank all the commissioners for the hard work you do for Beaufort County. Secondly, I would like to just call your attention to that the request we presented to you was only $5,545 more than what you have put in your proposed budget for BHM Library, and that $5,545 was not for a trip to Bermuda or Las Vegas. It was for cost of living raises for my employees. They have not had a cost of living raise in 5 years. And I would like you to consider the employees at the library to be the same as county employees. So if you give a raise to Beaufort County employees, we should get one in the same year. The other part of that raise that we asked for is a 6.4% increase in health insurance. Beaufort County has 9 employees in the libraries in Aurora, Bath, Belhaven, and Washington. And of those 9 employees, 4 are full-time and the rest are part-time. But as you all know, health insurance costs have risen. And I just would like you to reconsider our original request and grant us that increased amount of money so that we can operate as we have been doing. And again, we operate on a shoestring over there, so it's no frills are in our budget. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Chris Perry, Public. Chris, you? Populous. Is he here? Okay. Steve Swain, City Dive Team.
Commissioners, I'm here tonight representing the Sydney Dive Team on our request for our budget of this year. I'm here also to clarify something. It was some misunderstanding. I take it at your last meeting that we were a paid company. We are not. I have the documentation here tonight that we are a 501c3, have been since 2005. The county commissioners have funded us since 1990 in various ways. We have received money by coming before you like we are tonight, asking for money. Back in the mid-2005, we become a line item budget. We got money of $15,700 until 2011. 2011, y'all cut our funds back to $10,000 a year, and at that time, the $10,000 covered our expenses for our insurance and our equipment upkeep. That's all it done. Since I've got 8 record letters of recommendations from fire departments and the sheriff department on what the Sydney Dive Team has provided to those in the county, and also have a record of what our calls have been since 2011 until today, which have been 15 in-county calls and 6 out-county calls. We ask that you please give us our $10,000 so that we can maintain the services that we provide to the community here and to the loved ones who have lost people to waterborne tragedies in the county. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Phipps.
I'd like to thank you for granting the public an opportunity to speak about the budget for next year. I'm speaking on behalf of the Beaufort County Schools employees and the more than 7,000 students. Many have made time out of their schedules to be here tonight to show their support. I'm here tonight to ask that you restore the cut of $160,000 made last week in the Beaufort County Schools local current expense budget. Tonight's plea is a product of a cumulative effect of cuts which our school system has faced over the last few years, primarily at the state and federal levels. These cuts have brought an insidious influence into our world of operation. Year after year, we're facing greater expectations in the area of accountability as we watch precious resources diminish. I fear that we're nearing a point where we will no longer be able to overcome the loss of resources and still operate in an effective and efficient manner. Our reliance on local support is even more critical today as cuts continue to accumulate around us. We are looking to you to help us as we reach a tipping point. This is a critical point, a point where we hope to turn the tide. While $160,000 may not sound like a large sum when compared to a $13.5 million local budget, it is a very large amount in our operation. The budget presented to you represents an increase slightly of more than $50,000, but we are facing increased costs on the local side of more than $250,000. With the cut that's been imposed, we will have to make additional fund balance allocation, which we can't afford to do, or we'll have to make significant cuts. The cuts will be required because the budget that we presented simply has no fluff to be cut. The $160,000 cut will be made at the expense of positions lost and/or programs diminished or eliminated. We have reached a point where I cannot go to our board and recommend a cut that will further compromise the academic programs of our school system. On behalf of our students, our staff, and our community, I respectfully request for you to reconsider the decision to reduce our budget and restore the cut made last week. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Kenny, and I'm not sure about the last name. I'm not sure whether it's Miller or...
Yes.
Okay, very good.
But thank you, Commissioners, for allowing me this time to speak on behalf of Beaufort County teachers and Beaufort County children. Dr. Phipps has asked me to speak briefly tonight on how budget cuts have impacted my classroom and how further cuts could impact my classroom in upcoming years. Because of budget cuts, classroom supply money has been cut to the point that my assistant and I have bought supplies out of our own pockets. On our salaries, these supplies are coming out of a sometimes tight personal budget. Because of me being in kindergarten, I have not felt many of the cuts that many of my co-workers have felt. I still have my assistant in many programs, but if further cuts are made, when will I lose those? With the demands of a new rigorous curriculum and higher expectations for myself and my students, I need all the support that I can get. I need my assistant. I need resource teachers. I need literacy coaches and math coaches. They are a valuable asset and support in making the students of Beaufort County successful. I would hate to think that I had to start a new school year without some of them. Children of Beaufort County are ultimately the ones that will be hurt when cuts are made. I ask that you think about what is best for them. Help us to help them continue to achieve and become productive Beaufort County citizens. Thank you so much for allowing me this time to speak.
We thank you. Cindy Winstead.
Thank you for providing us the opportunity to speak publicly about your budget. I am chair of the Beaufort County Board of Education, and I represent many people here tonight, many teachers, students, and our personnel are here. If they will stand. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Let me begin by saying that in 2006, I was elected to the Board of Education. I was elected at a very bad time to be elected to that board. The relationship between the County Board of Commissioners and the County Board of Education was terrible. There was no trust. There was no willingness to work together. It was a horrible time. And through changes in membership to our board and changes in our school leadership, we have worked hard to mend those fences and make a good working relationship with the county commissioners. Al Clem was voted on the same night that I was for the first time. A couple of days after that, he called me and he said, let's work together to bring civility back to these two boards. And I feel like with everyone working, we have. And I'm glad that that's the way that Beaufort County Schools does business now. We operate that way. That's why when we set up our budget workshops this year, Dr. Phipps and our finance officer went through each line item, and we looked at not what was appropriated, but what we actually spent. And we figured out how we could cut that back, how we could ask for the bare minimum of what we needed. After that was done, the total amount was brought to us, and we said, with this economic times the way it is, we don't want to ask the county commissioners for this full amount. So we took $800,000 out of our $2 million that we had fund balance. We took $800,000 off the top and put it to that before the request was ever brought to you. That left us with about $1.2 million in our fund balance, which is 1.7% of our total budget, a very small fund balance. Last year, we appropriated $1 million out of that fund balance to the current expense. With funds as tight as they are, we won't be able to grow our fund balance anymore. One more year of dipping into it, and we will no longer have a fund balance. I am sure that the county commissioners will agree that this is not a fiscally responsible way to be for the position of the schools to be in. We built our budget without any padding of any sort because we truly wanted to be honest and open with you and be conservative with the taxpayers' money, because after all, we're taxpayers too. That is why I'm requesting that you please fund the schools according to your county manager's proposed budget. A budget that does not call for raised taxes or cutting of services, but does continue to grow your fund balance to $14.2 million, a projected 28% of your budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Valerie Baxter.
Good evening. I'm in some impressive company tonight. I'm just a little old resident. Thank you for allowing me to address the board in regard to I'm talking about the budget for the Sheriff's Department. According to the Washington Daily News, as part of the budget cutting, there's a proposal to decrease the number of personnel in the Sheriff's Department, and I find this really difficult to understand. We live about 10 miles northeast of Aurora Center, so we're way out on the eastern border, about 45 minutes from here. We established a community watch program, and the group has petitioned the board to add 1 deputy per shift and hopefully reestablish a substation in Aurora. It's a long way out there for these people to travel when there's an emergency. Aurora's had a substation in the past. Reopening the facility there could provide some more safety for everyone, as well as office space to complete reports and provide a comfort station, particularly for female personnel on the graveyard shift, without having to have this facility manned 24 hours a day. Our community watch group comprises longtime residents as well as transplants like me. I don't know of anyone in the group who has children in the school system, so all of the tax dollars we contribute to the county, willingly so, are free and clear dollars. People ask me where this money is going, and I have no idea. There hasn't been an increase in patrolling personnel since at least 1996. That's 17 years. This means there are no more than 5 deputies patrolling the entire area of Beaufort County. That, by the way, is the same number the Washington Police Department has on patrol. And in addition to the entire county, the Sheriff's Department also responds to calls in the city of Washington, which I see in the Washington Daily News every Friday. There have been additional duties for patrol personnel. The response to each call may remove that duty for as long as the remainder of his or her shift, depending on how much paperwork they have to do. The Sheriff's Department also takes all the 911 calls, not only for the county, but also for the city. Yet an entry-level patrol applicant can make more money working for the city than for our Sheriff's Department. That seems completely backward to me. Most recent crime stats that I could find online from the North Carolina Department of Justice are for years 2010 and 11. Overall crime, excluding arson, decreased statewide by a little less than 1%. In Beaufort County, it increased by 6%. To learn that the board is considering reducing personnel is startling. And the effect of that suggestion on the department personnel can only be discouraging and demoralizing, which I don't believe the board intended. We expect these deputies to protect us. It's a very basic provision for the residents of any municipality. It's next to food, clothing, and shelter as a basic need for folks, that is safety. These deputies are willing to lay down their lives to protect us, similar to the military, because they may be called to do just that at any given moment. They're required to protect us even if they're not on duty. Maybe we can't pay these folks a huge salary, but we must consider being supportive of their dangerous vocation. Our economy is tough, but we can't lose sight of the basics for all residents. You have the difficult job of deciding just what and how much each department will lose in the upcoming budget, but please don't forget to provide the most basic of needs to your constituents. There are a lot of programs out there that are wonderful in nature and make us feel good about ourselves that we can provide them, but we can make do without them until the economy improves. We do need for you to provide us with enough structure in the Sheriff's Department to keep us reasonably safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Shields Harvey.
Gentlemen, I'm Shields Harvey, trustee of Beaufort County Community College. Unquestionably, you gentlemen have a daunting task. You are charged with the responsibility of getting the biggest bang for our taxpayer dollars. We understand. We at the community college are with you all the way. We are your economic engine. Your economic engine both now and in the future. All we ask is you continue to support us and support us in a manner that we can continue to be your economic engine. Gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you. Rob Cantrell.
Good evening, gentlemen. Rod Cantrell, financial advisor. You're probably wondering why I'm standing here in support of the community college. I'm a numbers guy. I like numbers, but I like people better, and I like to make an impact, a positive impact in people's lives. And I believe the community college is doing more and more good every year for more and more people, and they're not getting the recognition or credit they deserve. I want to talk about the monetary benefit and then the emotional benefit. Wall Street Journal article called "The Diploma's Vanishing Value," April 26th. So it's a month old. Jeffrey Salingo is the author. The 50 most selective colleges in the country enroll 4% of the students. So the other 96% of the students go to regular schools, if you will. And there's a perception that community college degrees are not worth it. In Tennessee and Virginia, they have the statistics to prove otherwise. In Tennessee, the average first-year salary of a graduate with a 2-year community college degree is $1,000 higher than those with a 4-year bachelor degree in that state. Technical degree holders from Tennessee's community college often earn more their first year out than those who studied the same field at a 4-year university. That's amazing. In Virginia, graduates with technical degrees from community colleges, get this, make $20,000 more in the first year after college than do graduates in several fields who get bachelor's degrees. Yet high school seniors are regularly told that community colleges are for students who can't hack it on a 4-year campus. So this advantage, this value advantage, grows considerably when you take into account that a community college degree is a fraction of the cost of a bachelor's degree and that these students enter the workforce 2 years earlier. So if you haven't looked at the monetary benefit of our local community college, it's just a powerful, powerful thing. The Diploma's Vanishing Value, Wall Street Journal, April 26, Jeff Salingo. Let me just share the emotional side. I've been involved with the foundation for about 20 years. Have you ever had a thank you letter that brought you to tears from anyone? Friend, family? I'm sure many of you have. It's a powerful thing. Other than heartfelt notes from my wife and 2 daughters occasionally, I have gotten more thank you notes from my involvement in the Community College Foundation and the impact it's made in people's lives. And I go out there every 3 months and hear from the students and what's happening, and it truly is a powerful, powerful thing. And so I stand here in support of the Community College tonight, and I ask that their funding be kept strong. They are doing a lot of good in people's lives, and I see it every 3 months. And I think it's the right thing to keep their budget strong. Thank you.
Thank you. That is everyone who signed up to speak to us tonight. Is there anyone else who has something? Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we close the public hearing.
We have a motion to close the public hearing. Is there a second? Have a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, 7-0. Anything further while we're here? Okay, we'll convene back in our regular office session. All right, we're back in our regular session, back from our public hearing on our budget. Are there any motions or business concerning the budget?
Well, how are you going to proceed with the budget tonight? Are you going to try to approve the budget tonight?
That's what I'm asking right now. What is the pleasure of the board?
Well, I'll make a motion that we send this budget back to the county manager and that we instruct him to cut the budget to the same amount that it was in 2013 to $52,150,079. And this is not a straw motion. This is the motion because we've had the public hearing. And the reason for cutting the budget back to that is the people of Beaufort County are all on hard times. No one that I know of has had a wage increase, a salary increase, or an income increase, and basically for the last 5 or 6 years, everyone seems to be poorer this year than they were last year. Same thing happened during the Great Depression. The population is under stress. The people who are having to work for a living and buy groceries for their children and who are not collecting some kind of public welfare are under extreme hardship. We should respect those people. We should respect the fact that they're keeping their families together. We should respect the fact that they're trying to raise their children in a Christian environment. And we should respect the fact that they are working for a living, more than to give our own employees an increase during these hard times. Not that our employees are not working, but let's face it, compared to what's going on in the economy, a government job is a gravy train right now that our citizens do not have access to. So I move that we send the budget back and instruct the manager to adjust the budget in whatever way that he sees fit down to the amount of money, $52,150,079, which is the amount of money that we're projected to spend this year.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it. And I'd like to state that I appreciate Commissioner Richardson speaking for the people that are working and paying the freight for Beaufort County. It's tough. I know I've been doing it for the last number of years. It's pretty high levels, and a lot of other people have too. And we do have a high level of people in this county that are on some kind of subsistence, and some of it is, most of it is worthy, it's necessary, and some of it's fraud. I get that. But for the rest of us that are on no subsistence whatsoever, it's difficult. And it's incumbent upon us to just look and see where we can find some money. Now, what Hood is asking the manager to do is get together, look at it, come back to us with some notes. We can meet next week after all that's been done and decide what might need to be cut and what doesn't need to be cut. And we may change a total direction from where we are right now in what gets cut and what doesn't get cut. We made some landmark gains the other night on cutting some sacred cows, and maybe we should look at some other sacred cows.
Okay. Commissioner Brand.
I'm gonna have to agree with Commissioner Richardson on this. We, as Stan said, we made some significant cuts last Tuesday night. I thought it was good for the county. There's just a lot of people don't understand. There's just a lot of people out in Beaufort County right now that I see that on a daily basis that are just really hurting. And you've got these people that want to raise the county budget $2 million. where is that money gonna come from? Eventually, it's gonna come out of y'all's pocket, and mine too. And I just, in good faith, cannot support the budget as it stands right now. I'd like to make an amendment to Commissioner Richardson's motion that that we find $1 million worth of cuts out of the budget. And I think if we can do that, then we can all come to common ground, and we can have something that that we can sink our teeth in and go ahead and vote on. Thank you.
Well, there's two ways to do this. We can vote on this motion, and then you can make a motion on your own to reduce it by $1 million. And I don't have a problem with supporting that if this one fails.
Okay, so you're not accepting his friendly amendment?
No, but he will make his own motion when we finish this.
Okay, very good. Commissioner Booth.
If he said he didn't accept his amendment, I was just asking for all the clearance here, because you don't normally have to deal with subsequent.
Right. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of this motion, raise your right hand. All opposed, raise your right hand. It failed.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion that that the county manager look at the existing budget that we have right now and find $1 million worth of cuts in it somewhere. It don't have to come out of the school budget. It don't have to come out of human services, but we got to cut that budget at least $1 million. So that's my motion.
Second. Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I want to ask the question. Is this, the budget we got now is $54,906,000. He's cut $723,000 out of that budget already. You say he cut another $270,000 in addition to what he's already cut?
Yeah. More than that.
Well, it'll be a net $1 million.
I'll caucus with the Democrats on this, if I can.
I don't know.
Problem. I want to talk to you about this.
Okay, it's not a problem.
If
y'all want to
what he said is just if what you agree to, then I could go along with that.
Okay, to get an exact number, Mr. Brin, do I understand? I'm reading out of the book here that you're talking about the new physical budget being $53,183,411.
Yes.
Okay.
No. See, I'm looking at this year's budget of $54,906.
Yeah,
and he's cut $723,000 out of that. And he said cut it by $1 million, so you would only need $270.
That's right. It was $53 million rather than 54. That's what we just said. That's the same thing. We're on the same numbers.
Okay.
The total would be 700 and something thousand plus what you need to get to $1 million in reductions.
Yeah.
So that would be 50. Let's make sure we got the numbers.
Look at page 13 of your book.
That's where I'm at.
And go to fiscal year 2014. And go down that column to the very bottom.
No, he said cut this year's budget by $1 million. This year's budget's $54,906.
$54,183,411. I'd like to have $1 million cut off.
That's what I understand.
No, I say no, I can't do that.
I didn't think you could.
I thought he meant off of the current year's budget.
No.
Well, now, wait a minute. When we say current year's budget, you're talking about the budget that's ending in about 30 days?
Yeah.
I call the question.
No, you can't do that. That's impossible.
Well, I said he would, yeah, I was $54,906 minus $1 million. For next year, $53,906.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of that motion, raise your right hand. All opposed? It failed.
Okay. Is it my turn?
It's your turn to burn.
I make a motion excluding all prior straw votes to approve a 2013-2014 budget resolution that includes the following changes from the Beaufort County Manager's recommended budget. Study drainage issue for Tideland building, add $25,000. Decrease Department of Social Services overall budget based on specified line items, $180,000. $80,000 the DSS cut is in revenue loss. If county staff gets new revenue, staff can bring amendment to board to get approval as long as expenses offset by 100% by revenue. Eliminate total appropriation, no, skip that. Cut recommended sheriff's replacement vehicles from 5 to 3. Decrease $40,000 from sheriff's overtime budget. Decrease inmate safekeeping and jail budget by $100,000. Decrease Highway 17 funding to appropriation of $20,000. Eliminate funding for NC 20. Decrease Beaufort County, Washington Chamber of Commerce funding by 50%, $1,500. Add funding to cover planning and construction of new convenience site in Chocowinity Township. Public buildings, reduce janitorial supplies, $3,000. Animal control, reduce buildings maintenance and repair, $10,000. Tax office, postage budget in excess of $62,000. In 2013-14, don't ever spend more than $43,500, reduced by $17,500. With $175,000 addition, the total reduction is $351,048. That is my motion.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Could we get a copy of that?
Yes, you can. There you go.
I need one too, Al.
Make motion to clerk.
Clerk.
Yeah. Good.
Well, no, we've got a second. Can I make some discussion?
You sure can.
Okay.
Who
doesn't have one?
I'm making this mention now because the way we structured our two motions were that we were sending it back to the manager. Then we could move on to other items on our agenda, one of which is one I have brought forth, would be that we look at beginning the process by saving some of the money out of this budget, and so that we would have it. We're going to have to do it anyway for our new revaluation that's going to be coming up, whether we do it or whether we're told to do it. I mean, when I say told to do it, we could be told to do it by the state because our figures are so far out of line, and we could do it voluntarily, which is what I'm suggesting. We have gone through the process of changing the software at the county tax office. We are looking at getting our addressing straight. We're doing all the mechanics that are necessary to be able to do this and do it efficiently. Now, just a few weeks ago, we finished up our equalization and review. We met with over 150 people, a lot of them wanting some kind of a redress, wanting some kind of help. We told all of them, we're not going to help you unless we help the entire county. Some of us meant it, some of us may not have meant it. I don't know. I'm hoping we all meant it. So, what I'm asking you commissioners, should we address this now since we have a firm budget by Al Clem, not to be given to the manager to change, but a firm budget to pass and then we all go home? Do we address this now, or do we put money in it now for later and address it later? If so, I suggest we start with $100,000.
Now, you're talking about $100,000 for what?
To put in the save out of the budget to put towards revaluation this year and then more next year, and we start moving towards it.
Now, you have that as an agenda item for a vote.
I do have that as an agenda item, but I thought it would be wise if I go ahead and bring it up because it's going to have very little teeth if you guys rush this through on a 4-3 vote and get it passed.
If you want to put it in, you're going to vote for the budget.
That has no bearing on your budget.
Hold on, that's a separate item.
That's a separate
separately agendaed item.
Yes. That's why I wanted this to go ahead, and if we were going to send it back to the manager, it would be the rest of this week, and then we'd meet again next week. He'd have time to look at things, come back to us, and then we could deal with this tonight. I mean, this is just still, we've got another 4 weeks before we got to come to some kind of conclusion on this.
Yeah, but your item, when it comes up for the agenda, we'll fight that out.
Yeah, well, if it does, it's going to be moot if they pass
You're
this.
confusing these guys, and they're easily confused.
Well, it's going to be moot.
Bring it on.
All right, any further discussion?
Yeah. Let Gary go.
Al, when you've got eliminating total appropriations for the Sydney dive team, did you strike that out?
I put that back in.
It's back in.
you put it back in.
Yes, sir.
I did want to say something about that. I have letters here from different volunteer fire departments. I also have a list of dives that the Sydney dive team made for us in 2012, 2013, 2011, and Stephen went over with me a couple things in the courthouse that their insurance, their liability and workers' comp insurance runs about $5,000 a year, and then they also have repair of equipment. This is all their equipment. They donate their equipment to that, and so I'm going to support that, putting that back in now.
Thank you.
Well, see, part of letting the manager look at it is we could have addressed that. Now, I talked to them too when I was leaving. They've got an OSHA problem. I knew if it was a 503C, they should be able to bill. That's not the problem. It's not them and the IRS. It's them and the OSHA. And they would have to reestablish, realign their insurances, everything, to be able to send us a bill. We wanted a bill so we could have an accounting. They can't do that. They feel that they can't do it. I mean, and I'm not going to micromanage this group as to whether they can do it or not. They cannot send us a bill.
That's what he said. He said we'll put them in a completely different light.
It's not the IRS.
What's
it is
OSHA got
OSHA.
to do with billing?
The way they are structured through insurance and OSHA, they feel in their minds that they cannot send out bills. They're not structured to send out bills.
I've never heard of anything so ridiculous in all my life.
Well, they are of a mind they can't send out bills.
Well, people believe whatever they want to believe. But my only question is, nobody has yet told me what the county gets for this $150,000 that we've spent over the last 15 years. We've actually been funding them since 1990. So nobody has ever given me a list of what we get for this. But that's a pure list. That's not an auditable list. I mean, I want a copy of that because I'm going to chase some of that stuff and see what really happened. But you know, they don't account for this until they're put on the spot like they are right now.
Again,
that should be a part of our budget process. That somebody needs to submit something. They're taking public money. Where is it going? Nobody knows.
Again, this is argument.
He's got a list of what his insurances cost. Why
doesn't he submit it to the county?
He said he would be he would be happy enough to come in at any time we wanted him, and he would.
No, that's not the way that people do it when they're straight up. They submit it voluntarily without having to be bludgeoned into doing it.
Oh, he's not. I mean, he would have brought it to us tonight.
Well, he should have. We asked him for it.
It's probably not.
We've asked for it, and we don't get it.
Right.
Back to the budget. Back to the item of the budget.
Yes, I do.
You know what Commissioner Clem has done here is what I call gutless cuts, because if you look at each one of these items, there's not really a definable person or organization behind them to defend what he is doing to them. Decreased social services overall budget based on specified line items, and then he says, well, but you can come back and you can get it increased if you can show us where you can get the money from somewhere. We'll increase it. That's not a real cut. Eliminate total appropriation for the Sydney dive team.
That's back in.
You put that back in, but it's on this piece of paper. So which is it, Al? When do we believe you?
I crossed it out.
It's not crossed out on my piece of paper.
It is mine.
I'll be glad to cross it out.
Cut the recommended sheriff's replacement vehicles from 5 to 3. Now, Al knows as well as anybody knows, the sheriff came in here last year, got an extra 5 vehicles above the budget, used drug money to do that. They're going to play those same games this year. It's not a cut, because these guys will sit here and approve whatever he brings them because they're afraid of him for some reason or another. Decrease the sheriff's overtime budget by $40,000. We all know that's not a real cut. If the sheriff gets in a position where in order to provide the service in emergency conditions is overtime, he is going to provide it, and these guys are going to approve it. Another gutless cut. Decrease the inmate safekeeping in the jail budget. Where is she? She's in here. She's going to tell you that if she needs that, she's going to use it. She doesn't care whether it's budgeted or not, because she has to under the law. So you can change that number to any, you put 0 in there, and she is still going to have to do her duty. Doesn't matter what you put in the budget. So that's another gutless cut. Decrease the Highway 17 funding $20,000 to $15,000. Well, Finlayson's not here to defend himself. I would have cut it too. I'm afraid I have to agree with that. Eliminate the funding for NC 20. That's okay, not a problem there. Decrease Beaufort County Washington Chamber of Commerce funding by $1,500. 50%. They're still getting money. That's still the payoff, and we're still paying off all these other places that Al goes and hovers around when he runs for office, like the town of Belhaven and the town of Aurora. So we're still paying those things. Public building, reduce the janitorial supplies. Al, you claim that you ran industry and businesses for all of these yay number of hours. You know good and well this is a softball and it doesn't mean anything. Animal control, reduce building maintenance and repair, $10,000. How are you going to go out there and define that? I mean, it's another softball that there's nobody here to defend. Postage, reduce that by $17,000 simply because they haven't been spending it. These are all phony cuts. You know, they are not the real kind of cuts that we need to get the cost of government down and to eliminate the programs and eliminate some overstaffing and do the things that need to be done for the citizens of Beaufort County to actually help the citizens of Beaufort County. Most of this stuff's going to show up in the budget again. It's going to show up as an expense next year if it's needed. These are not real cuts. Anybody can softball this stuff. You know, it's phoniness at its best.
Okay. Anything further from any other commissioner?
Yeah, I got one question for Jim, our finance manager and assistant manager. Jim, how much did we cut overall with our straw votes?
554, something like that.
Well, it netted out to 497 because of the increase in the convenience center site at Chuckwinee Township.
497.
497, yes.
Okay.
And Hood, one other thing, excuse me, on that, on the funding for Highway 17 project, the reason we left that at 15,000 is because of the matching funds.
Matching funds?
There's no matching funds.
There's no matching
Highway
funds.
17.
Well, I wanted to cut the whole thing out completely, and somebody said we couldn't do that because of matching funds.
Well,
I had that a lot being a commissioner.
The biggest
Matching
reason we
funds.
shouldn't cut it out altogether is Beaufort County was one of the driving forces behind that, and we did get some roads built in the wrong places for our money. So I think if you're going to take them down, you need to ease them down.
Commissioner Richardson has a way of getting his nuggets in. Anything further? Hearing none, all in favor of Commissioner Clem's motion, raise your right hand. Opposed? 4-3, it passed.
Mr. Chairman, just so we can get some clarification, and I've got the list here. There was a few other recommendations. We brought to you a recommended budget, the manager did, and we also brought you some backup and request for the Aurora Richland Township to provide a heightened level of service in that area. And I just want to make sure I heard the motion that said exclude all prior straw votes, I think, and adopt the manager's recommended budget as presented with the following exceptions. And I just want to be clear that that was the motion, and that one of the recommendations of the manager was that increase be presented for the Aurora and Richland Township. And I just want to make sure that's
correct.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, go ahead. Have you finished?
Well, I'm just saying, as we develop the budget ordinance, which will reflect all that, I want to make sure that that's inclusive of what you all are adopting.
Right. Okay.
I just want a point of clarity. You know, we've got the issue that I moved up on the agenda tonight, having to do with the aircraft, the soil conservation, and the easements and the contracts. I want to be sure that we need to, I would like for you to agree to pull out the soil conservation and those ag budgets until we go through that.
Okay. Yeah.
Because we do have a real serious problem there that we need to discuss, and the board needs to decide how to proceed with it.
And I concur with him on that particular item. I do. I think that's something we need to look at.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to you know, when the school system started talking about the facilities manager and they wanted to hire the engineer, there was a difference between what is the school system's budget and what an engineer would cost of about $30,000. And there's nowhere for that money to be obtained, so I make a motion that the board appropriate $30,000 to pay the difference, the set-off between the salary that the school system has and the salary that the engineer would have to be paid in order to bring an engineer on board as facilities manager in the Beaufort County Schools.
Mr. Chair,
Okay.
is that the position that we require?
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
yeah, I mean, if you could go back and not hire an engineer and get it for the price that they got, but they don't have the money.
I want some serious discussion on
Okay,
this, if there's a second to this motion.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, discussion.
Okay, when the manager did the budget, that was included in the budget. There was discussions with the, and he'll tell you that, because I was
It's already
involved.
in there.
I did not detail it out, but that was the intent, that it would be, it would be 25,000, I think, taken out of the appropriation.
30, yeah, 25 or 30.
What page is that?
We had discussions with Superintendent
That's not
Phipps about doing this, and it was included in his increase, so.
It is in the budget.
It is in the budget, yeah.
That was my thinking.
Yeah.
But you didn't specify.
Did not.
You didn't so, and the fixed cost increase for the school system, before you add that position, to the best guess estimate they can give you is $243,500. And so you would need to add 30,000 to that figure in order for them to break even and not go in the hole this coming year.
Now,
if you
look,
don't,
you're out of the school system, and you know this new math, but we didn't count that this way. That in his increase was included that job at $30,000.
I didn't ever know that.
Well,
I mean,
ask
it was a
Superintendent
current
Phipps.
expense increase.
Ask Superintendent Phipps if he didn't discuss it with at least me and the manager. Because I told him I would support him in getting that, because they are going to save money when they get a maintenance engineer in charge of that stuff over there.
Well, it's impossible for you to have supported him on that, because you cut the school system budget to $90,000. If you'd taken it out of that $90,000, increased to $90,000, if you'd taken the $30,000 out of that $90,000, they'd have only got $60,000. So I don't see how you can say you supported it.
New math, there you go.
Yeah, new math.
That math you're using, you know.
Okay.
But you're down.
What do we need to do to correct this matter?
Can Randall get clarification from Dr. Phipps?
I did poll the board, and majority of the board supported this position.
Yeah.
And I just felt like that when we set the figure, that it would be included in 25,
That's right.
be included in the figure, but that's y'all's decision if you want to adjust it.
Yeah, it's in there.
Okay,
We don't
Commissioner
need to
Green.
put now 30 in there,
We don't
because
need
it's
to put
30
no
already
30.
there.
This is Bob's arithmetic over there. We'll all go broke.
Commissioner Green, you have something? Okay.
No, I don't withdraw it. I want them to vote on it, because I want to see what they say. That they requiring you to have a position, and they're not willing to pay for it above and beyond the increase in the fixed.
We are paying for it.
No, not, you're paying for it, you're paying for it by taking they're gonna have to take out of their budget $30,000 somewhere in fixed costs, whether it's gasoline or diesel fuel or electricity or whatever.
Well, you're claiming they got a $244,000 increase. I'm claiming they got a bigger increase than that. So it's in there.
What is the exact increase?
That increase is $250.
Is it $250? Okay.
But just since we're talking now, if I could go, if this engineer does what we want him to do, and they save money, okay, where does those savings go? They come back to us?
Yeah, they're going to send us a check.
They're going to send us a check?
Let's do it on the back end.
That would be,
not on the front end.
Well, since we're talking new math, old math,
savings, let him come back.
Just give me an answer.
How much you
Who gets the savings?
We can cut
Them or
it,
us?
cut it the amount of the savings next year.
We're doing this to help them, not to hurt them. This is to their benefit.
Yeah.
Let's do it on the back end then.
Commissioner
What's
Booth.
wrong with that?
The problem that I have, and I hope, Mr. Manager, that your math is correct. I hate that we go over and ask the school board to do something, and we ask them to do something, and then we renege on helping them pay for it. Now, if it's in the budget, I'm fine with it. to fund this position that we required them to have, not required them, requested them to have. Now, if you was absolutely sure.
That was my thinking.
Yeah.
But we didn't specify, that we probably, at the last minute, we probably should have added it into our documentation in the budget.
But you did put 30,000 in there for.
That's right.
He didn't call you.
Well, if he polled the board and he was preparing the budget, if he polled the board and he was preparing the budget, he put it in there. I mean, and he admitted he put it in there. I don't know what else it takes.
Okay. Is the motion withdrawn or? You want to vote it?
Vote it.
Vote it. All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? All right, it's there. Anything further? Do you have everything you need, Jen?
Yes, and I don't want to complicate things even worse, but I do. We did have a lingering issue with Mr. Eddie Staley came and did his presentation about the 911 contract, the addressing contract.
Right.
And the approval that we just received allows us to fund that contract. I don't know if we need to. We probably need to get a motion for us to go ahead and agree to do that.
Okay.
Which will get us a contract, a copy of a contract. We'll bring it for you all to review. Part of that contract, in talking with Mr. Staley, was that we upgrade some software, which he recommends we move on now. You realize that I had estimated a little low when we did the recommended budget document. One of the recommendations is that if we move forward now on the contract, on the software portion of it, we can incur some of that expense in the current year, which would allow us to live through the contract next year. That's an option for you all, but what I would need to do is get some direction from you all to approve the recommendations in his proposal, and then bring to you all a contract to move forward on.
What is the pleasure of the board?
You're talking about the whole approximately $170,000.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I can't see doing just part of it.
Okay.
Do the whole thing.
Yeah.
That's your motion.
Yes, sir, that's my motion.
Would you agree to move forward with a portion on that to get us going this fiscal year before the end of the year, which is approximately $20,000, I think is what it is. Okay.
Have a motion.
This is important.
And a second by Commissioner Green.
Got to be done with that tax.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. 7-0.
Thank you.
So we're good to go.
Yes, sir.
Gary Brand, your item.
I'll be right back.
Talking on limited voting methods, we had a meeting last Thursday afternoon and night. I thought it was the most productive meeting that we've had to date. We discussed two methods that we're going to fine-tune, and we will bring them to the board after we've put them together and think that that's the way that we need to go. Our next meeting will be the third Thursday of this month, so we'd like to have anybody to come that will hear how hard we're working on this thing. And that's all I have on that.
Okay.
Solar panel farm, we've got a letter from our attorney that states that we can do anything that we want to as far as ordinances go in the county. I made a motion that last month that we have an ordinance that has a setback of 100 feet from any residence in Beaufort County to protect their site damage, and we had to put that on hold to find out the legalities of it. So at this time, I'm going to make a motion that we set up a committee to study exactly the best way to put this ordinance in place. I don't want to be accused of zoning Beaufort County. Just that's not what it's all about. So I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman, that we set a committee to study.
Second.
And do we really need a motion for that? And I
think you could appoint.
I just appoint that. That'll be Commissioner Brand. You don't want it?
No, I'll do it. I'm going to bail out on you guys one of these days.
Give it to Hood, he'll do it.
Yeah, that's what it's
Got you again.
Oh, no. I'm already the ombudsman.
Oh,
you were in the room this time.
And I can't even spell it.
Are you the Commissioner Booth then? Just kidding. And Commissioner Booth, those are your three.
Okay. Why are you sitting up with these two guys?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, you're welcome. Commissioner Dethridge.
All right, let's talk about the first item, which is, I need to restate what I've already stated. We just spent a lot of money a few moments ago to get our addressing straight, which needs to be done. It's a liability. I think it's dead. It's killed.
What are you looking for?
You want to plug?
No, I can plug it in.
I think I will. I knew it was going to die at some point.
Okay, I'll be plugging this in and I'll be talking. We talked about that. We just spent a bunch of money for the addressing. We're going to be spending a lot of money for the tax software. In roughly $300,000 to begin, and then I think $80,000 a year, something like that. That's a lot of money. We're doing it for a purpose, so we can have a better understanding of what we have in the county. Now, what we need to do is we need to fess up and say to the people that we've got values in this county that are completely out of whack with what the real values are. And it's not our fault. It's not our appraiser's fault. It's not our tax assessor's fault. It's just a condition of what is. What is in a state of change. We need to figure out how we can best approach getting these values back in line before the state of North Carolina tells us we're way out of whack. And at that point, we may not have an opportunity to start putting money away. It could be one of these situations when we have one of those oh my God moments. And we don't want to have that. If we can start putting the money away now, then we're not only saying to the public we're moving forward, we're saying to our tax assessor and our new tax collector we're moving forward. And we need to go ahead and make that, even if it means at this point, I guess I don't know what we do. You've passed the budget. It's not in the budget. I guess we'd have to go into our fund balance. But I will make a motion that we go into our fund balance and get $100,000 to get started. We can leave it there, of course, but we say we're getting started. The money's put away. It's not going to be reallocated to some other project. And next year, we go get even more. And we keep doing this until we get it paid.
We do.
Mr. Chairman, this may solve Stan's, and this may solve his interest. And there was a general statute, I believe, 2 years ago passed that reserved a portion, after a county did revaluation, a portion of our fund balance is statutorily reserved based on the cost of our last revaluation. So in our audit, there's an area that says reserved for state statute, I think, and a portion of that is reserved for future fund balance, future revaluation. Now, we can look at that. I can report back to you on how much that is, and you may say that's not enough, or it's based on 8 years. You may, in your discussions, you may discuss, I've heard you say that you wanted to speed that up a little bit. So what we may do is you may say that's not enough. We want to appropriate more than what's the statutory reserve, and that's fine. But what I can do is I can report back to you on what that reserve amount is, and then you can continue that discussion based on whether you feel like that's enough or not.
Well, and I appreciate that, and I'm thankful for that. It's good to us to know it, and we probably should bring it up at the next meeting, and I'd like to reserve a spot on the agenda because we need to push this forward. But what I'm looking for is this board to commit to revaluation sooner rather than later, and I want to move with all haste to get it done. We're going to have a revaluation done by 2018. It's 2013 now. We need to push we can have one in effect and ready to go by no later than 2016. And I'll put that in the form of a motion. But and if we can do it sooner, I'd like to do it sooner. You don't know exactly how long it's going to take. I think 2016 is pushing it pretty far out. But we should have the software implemented by the end of this year. It should be up and running and everybody with the program.
That would be the key issue of
It would be the
concern,
key
to
issue.
have that transition and conversion to the new system completed, functioning well, things going, department trained, and all the things going well before you would want to endeavor on a reval, because it
is a variable that's going to have to be completely functionary. I mean, everything's going to have to be working perfectly. And if it's not, we got more time. But what I'm thinking is, if we just, as the commissioners are wont to do, if we just allow it to sit, and we have good intentions. We have good intentions. We tell people that each and every year at revaluation. In fact, we all said it. At least nobody said it to the contrary when we were telling them we're not going to give you any help because we got to help Joe down the street and Mary over here around the corner, so we're going to do you all at the same time. We were telling people this. And nobody said, "Oh no, we're not going to do that. We don't want to spend money on revaluation. We think everything's fair enough, right as it is." We didn't say that to the public when they came before us about what 150. I'm still talking, please.
No. You made a motion and you're carrying on, so you need a second to continue with this item, Stan.
Oh, okay.
Second. God, you won't miss it.
Now I will carry on. So we did not do that. We tacitly said, we're going to help you. We're going to help you. We can't help you now, we'll help you later. What I want is these commissioners to commit to helping the public by getting these values in some kind of alignment with reality. And that is why we put this motion forward. And the people will know who's willing to help and who's not after we do this vote.
Okay, you have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I got a question.
Yeah.
Mr. Manager, I think we're already in the process of already began working towards the next reval. Am I correct?
Yes, sir. I think it's been a couple of years. Had two years worth of funding.
I can't remember the percentage that we are putting it aside now for a reval.
The cost, I think, is approximately $1 million.
$1 million. Now, the problem that I have with this, and God knows we need a reval, but what this gentleman down here wants is for 4 folks to vote to spend $1 million. He wouldn't vote for it if he put it in the budget.
Well, I wouldn't vote for all the charities you guys give money to. No, you're right about that.
Stay centered.
Mr. Chairman, let me clarify for Ed. The law requires that we spend 1/8 of it right now, $125,000 a year. That money is spent. It's designated. I think, and this is a point of clarity. Stan, are you asking that we target 2016 as the revaluation date?
Or sooner.
Or sooner, but at the latest 2016.
2016.
That's only 2 years early. So if the finance officer comes back and tells us how much has been escrowed into that, or earmarked, or whatever the right word is, limited funds, then it's a matter of adjusting that number as we go toward that target.
You're talking about getting the money out of the general fund.
You have to. I mean, the money is going to come from the taxpayers in the general fund. I mean, the money that's in the fund balance comes from the general fund. Okay. So yeah, it's general fund money. But is that clear, Stan? That
yes,
we're targeting
absolutely.
No later than 2016 that we have a reval and that we adjust our escrowed or designated funds so that we're working to that target.
With the new system, and this is a question on it, with the new system being implemented, that could possibly delay that. Am I correct?
Yeah, it could.
Yeah, if we don't have, we have a target though.
But that's why we go in 2016 instead of 2014, 2015, 2016 should be easy to make.
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
When we did that reval work, I think every commissioner in this room right here realized and said on numerous occasions that this is exactly what we needed to do to help the people of Beaufort County. Because we saw so many pieces of property that was so out of line that, I mean, it was just jumped right out in front of you on the paper. So I'm going to support that.
Right. And that's your support to do 100,000 on top of the already 125,000?
No. The way it'll work is the finance officer will come back to us at the next meeting and tell us what we need to escrow each year in order to make it work.
Above and beyond the 125?
Above the 125.
Just take it off and we'll look at it on the next meeting.
Yeah.
Bobby.
Well, no, we're voting to go in a direction right now.
We're just voting for direction.
Well, you got to change your motion because you said that the $100,000.
Yeah.
No, he didn't say.
I didn't mention.
No, he never said 100,000.
I started talking about 100, but that wasn't in the motion, was it, clerk?
Yes.
Yes, it was.
You talk so much, you don't even know what he's saying.
Oh, okay.
Well, I would amend my motion to move forward on the direction of our finance manager. You can interject that in there someplace.
Well, that's a bit nebulous. He's sitting over there about to go through the floor. Let me clean up. Let me clean up the motion for you a little bit. The motion is that we set a target date of 2016 for a revaluation of county property, which is 2 years earlier than we normally would do it, and that the finance officer report back to us at the next meeting as to the amount of money that must be escrowed, designated, that's not the right words, but set aside in order to be able to reach that target. Earmarked, in order to be able to reach that target. That's really what we're saying.
Okay. That's what I meant.
You shouldn't talk about money.
That's right. He didn't know what but let me ask
That's what I meant.
We don't have an idea what the finance manager is going to bring us back.
Why not?
I don't have a problem with doing the reval, but I wish we would, and it's not going to die, Stan, because you ain't going to die between now and next month. Put it back on the thing for next month, then we have some numbers to work with.
No.
See that?
Why would we do that?
Well, why would you
You either want to do something for the people of Beaufort County and revalue this property, or you want to kill it. One of the two.
We're not going to kill it, but we just need to. I need to know how much money are we talking about.
You're telling me
nobody can tell us.
You're telling me when well, I can tell you the number almost right now. We're setting aside $125,000 per period in round numbers. So all you do is you're doing an 8-year revalue, a 6-year instead of an 8. So you divide 1 million by 6, and you get about 160,000. Then you subtract 125 from that, and you got 35,000. So you got 4 years to make up. So you're going to add about another 60,000 a year.
60,000.
You're going to set aside about 185,000.
Possibly.
Yeah, that's about what it comes out to. I mean, I can do
it sooner,
numbers.
then we're going to have to come up with more.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Clean.
Bob, in relation to sale of properties in the area.
Bobby.
In relation to sale of properties in the area, are we in danger of the state coming here and making us do another reevaluation, or are they selling, what's their price in relation to assessed value at this point?
I would say you'd have to be down below, I don't come up with, I'm just saying 75%. You would have to have 25% off from the 100.
You'd have to have a review. Do you know where we're at right now?
We were about 100, and the last time I checked, around 106%. So we're at about 90.
There's some serious question in my mind when properties that sold for $180,000 are selling for $35,000 and $40,000 that you're coming out in that, because you told me yourself you're throwing out all of those numbers. And some of these counties are being forced to do some revaluation. Some of them are under a lot of pressure simply because of the crash in the real estate market. So let's all get real here and get off of this business of trying to prove something that's not really true.
I have a question.
The only county that's been forced to do it has been one county, and they had 75,000 population. It has to be 75,000 population before they'll force it. And there's one county, and it just happened so that year they came up with a value lower than what the state recommended, and they had to do a revaluation, and I think they had 2.5 years to do the revaluation.
Well, now, if you notice, I've asked you for the paperwork when you send these numbers in next time, because I want to go over it myself and see how this is done, because there is definitely something wrong with the way that we're sending these numbers up there. If we're saying that our property right now is valued at more than 100% of what it was worth at the time of the last reval. Now, there's a serious problem there because everybody knows that real estate and house values have gone down, not up.
Mr. Richardson, we have had some values that are less than what is sold for. Too. Property values have gone up on some properties.
Sure. I have a question. My question is, what is your estimation of when we're talking arm's length versus forced sales, what is the percentage of forced sales out of all sales that happened in the county?
I would say it's as much as half.
Yeah.
As much as half.
See, that
now,
tells you something,
are the forced sales being counted in any of
No, they're not. Are you counting them?
If it's an auction, no, we do not. If it's
okay, so half, and yet we're not counting them. What we have is a false market. We have a false understanding of what values are in this county. And you've made my point. Either they're going to do it or not. I'm going to lobby in Raleigh that we start looking at foreclosures, not arm's length transactions, because that's the only way you're going to get a real understanding of what the property values are in this county. Otherwise, each year we're going to have these people sitting in front of us and we're going to mouth to them, yeah, we care, yeah, it's way out of whack, but guess what, we're going to help you. No, we're just going to say, no, we're not going to do anything until we're forced to. So I'm saying we're way out of whack. You've just told me we're way out of whack if we've got 50% forced sales.
Yeah.
So we've got to do something.
I can
he
tell
made my point.
Based on what happened at the Board of Adjustment.
You're asking me something that I haven't checked, Stan. I just kind of gave you an answer.
Can you give me a number?
Yeah, I believe your numbers. First
time he's ever done that.
Based on what happened at the last Board of Adjustment and the mouthing that was done to the public at the last Board of Adjustment, and as Gary described it real well when he said on the paper it just was not real, you can find somebody else to serve on the next Board of Adjustment, because I refuse to serve unless this county does the right thing by the public in this county, because I'm not going to sit in there and keep lying to the public.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand.
Oh, wait a minute. Excuse me. I didn't want to do that.
Y'all need to get your signatures right.
You got me so confused. I don't even know what I'm voting for.
You're not going to vote for it now?
No, not with
All
that
right.
fact.
All opposed?
Screw the public. That's what it comes down to.
All right, it failed.
You failed.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
I would like to put it on the agenda for next month so Al can get the facts and the rest of you commissioners.
I'll make a
can get the
motion to
facts.
come up at the next meeting before somebody can make the motion.
I'll make a motion.
You can't do that. I'm ahead of you.
Why do you gotta say one thing to the public?
Stan.
It's like Frank Bonner still up here.
That's exactly right.
Stan, your next item.
Oh, good.
Mr. Chairman,
Okay, go
can I
ahead.
ask one more question on this? I asked Jim or Randall, either one. When you start a reevaluation process,
They are. Al's right in there with
say, is the next reeval supposed to be done 2018 if you follow the 8-year cycle?
I believe so.
Is that what it is?
Right.
Okay, how long does it take
Yeah, they're all over something.
to do that reval?
You probably need to start in 16.
2.5 years if the system is running.
2.5 years.
If the
Okay.
system is running.
So you're talking about the middle of 2015.
Mr. Chairman.
If everything went good like this planned, it will still be hard because you couldn't get started till the system is up and running, which they have guaranteed 2014, I believe.
Yeah.
Halfway through the year.
You're only going to have about 6 months of this year to do the planning and getting it ready. And so this year will be pretty well shot planning and getting it ready. Then we got the 2 years in the field, year and a half, 6 months to get the numbers right. If everything went good, but this year we ran to March. The last one ran to March before we set the numbers out.
Well, it looks to me like what you're doing is, if it's going to take you to the end of 2014 to get your tax software right, and then you start that, you're only talking about 6 months difference between what you were saying. I mean, between 2018 and the earliest we could get it done doing what you want to do.
Well, wait a minute. No. What he's telling you is without the innovation of people who get into this stuff and know what they're doing. You go out and gather your data. You don't have to dump your data until You don't have to have that system up to start putting our data from the reval in right away. You don't do that. You dump your data at a certain point, and then you massage the data. So the time frames, he's giving you the longest time that it could possibly be. There's a much shorter time in there, too, if you're off the ground running.
I'm looking for 2 years,
Commissioner
Brand, or more.
I would still like for our finance officer to come back with some figures on exactly what it would take to have that in our fund balance to do a reevaluation at that time, at 2016. See what the numbers would look like.
Yeah.
I mean,
we got it on the agenda next month.
It's not a problem.
We're talking
Okay,
about
good.
numbers. Y'all get the facts. Maybe y'all can vote the way you talk to people in the ENR meetings. That'd be great.
Yeah, maybe you can vote like you talk to the public.
And your next item.
Next item. The next item is pretty much states the fact that government is closest to the people, and we represent the grassroots of the people we talk to from time to time. There are certain concerns that we all have, and we deal with them at the local level. There's concerns that only thing we can do is advocate for the people. And that's what this resolution speaks to, the advocation of what the federal government should do. Now, we all know, we've served in government a long time, all of us, so we know what we do. We know what the state government does, since they're an agent of us, and all of us have read the Constitution. We know what the federal government's supposed to do. Since the dawn of time, when man started keeping time at least, people have congregated to have markets. They've also congregated for safety. That's why you have, and then government arose out of that. That's why we have a government in the United States. We started off having strong state governments, and then we went to a federal government once we started moving towards the colonies and leaving the colonies status and moving towards a country. We had a federal government, and their designation was to keep us safe and to have, you're laughing, you don't like this, do you?
Keep on going.
Well, if I could please finish. And we started moving towards a point that we needed to have a strong government to keep us safe. And we do that because we are a people under the Constitution of the United States is empowered to do such. So what I've been hearing lately is we're moving towards a United States federal government that no longer wants to prosecute the war on terror. Now, maybe it's just me, maybe I overreact to things, but I think the world is basically a very unsafe place. I talk to people, they feel the same way. Maybe it's just my constituents and they are on any kind of a program other than wanting to stay safe and working and supporting their families. But they are concerned about this. So I wrote a resolution, and it's a resolution to continue the global war on terror. Now, this resolution is different a little bit than the one in the book. It's grammatically better, whatever. When I submit these things, I don't have much time to write them, and as usual, I just do too much in a week. So eventually I get them roughed out better. So I'm going to read this, and this will be the one. Once it is approved, we'll go to the federal government, and it's still funny, isn't it? It's kind of cute, isn't it?
It's funny to your pen man.
My pen man?
Yeah, look to your right.
I think he's laughing at you.
Yeah, I'm laughing at you guys.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to read this because it won't take long. It's not very long. And it's, I mentioned the title. It starts off, whereas the global war on terror effectively began on September 11, 2001, when the Islamic extremists, planned and led by al-Qaeda, made war against the Republic of these States United by the murdering of innocents in New York, Alexandria, Virginia, and in a rocky field near Shanksville, Virginia, and whereas conflicts were engaged on multiple fronts as well as two specific theaters of war in Iraq and in Afghanistan, and whereas while these conflicts are quite expensive in terms of financial resources and moreover human capital, it is prudent and necessary to keep Americans safe at home and abroad in a very dangerous world where we have many fanatical enemies who despise peace and similarly hate freedom, and whereas since November 2009 there continues to be a threat from terror attacks on our sovereign soil, as evidenced by recent attacks in Fort Hood and Benghazi and the Boston Marathon bombings, and whereas the Obama administration has taken the initiative to declare the war on terror against those who despise peace and hate freedom freedom should now come to an end, as stated by Mr. Obama on March 23, 2013, who specifically commented, "But this war, like all wars, must end. That is what history advises. That's what our democracy demands." Whereas most successful wars waged in the annals of mankind have desirable outcomes only when there is a clear victor and there is a clear vanquished foe who surrenders unconditionally. However, that desired outcome will probably never occur in the global war on terror, since our foe is the ever-changing face of radical Islam, and whereas the vast consensus of our warrior leaders contend that global war on terror should continue unabated and America should remain in a position of vulnerability if we do not remain diligent in our efforts to combat this threat by remaining on appropriate war footing, and whereas it is the primary objective of our Commander-in-Chief to prosecute all appropriate actions to keep us and our republic safe from the malevolent actions of our enemies, foreign and domestic. Therefore, let us be resolved to request that our Commander-in-Chief, as is his constitutional duty to do so, continue this war against those who would do us great harm and would, through their xenophobic zeal, wipe us from the face of the earth as infidels to their great Muslim cause. So.
Second.
Okay, you have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? It passed.
Can you believe it?
It is funny.
It is funny.
Commissioner Booth.
The question, I just want some clarification on videotaping of meetings. And, at one time, we were having these videotaping of meetings. If there was a special call meeting or something like that, we were always told to when we're going to have them recorded.
Huh?
And I feel that some of the meetings that we have been recorded last 5-10 minutes. I think it's a waste of taxpayers' money to pay for video of a meeting that lasts 5 minutes or 10 minutes long. And that is up for discussion.
You're talking about scheduled meetings that are only going to be 5-10 minutes long?
No. Don't bother the scheduled meetings. You know, like when we first started this, we would have polls, like if we were going to have a meeting, we'd call each commissioner and say, do you want it recorded? And if the time limit was in there, then we've done it. Well, not nothing wrong with what we're doing, like a regular scheduled meeting.
Yeah.
Stop doing that. No, I just want to start taking the polls. If you're going to have a meeting, if Jerry is going, Mr. Chairman will call a meeting tomorrow, we just ask that you're going to have it recorded. Just stop Jerry from saying, call and record, and say, come on.
We're going to get 4 votes.
That costs a lot of money. Yeah.
Well, but by the same token, what it's sort of boiled down to lately is that if any commissioner demanded that it be recorded, it's been recorded.
Well, it is now, but it wasn't that way when I first came on. We used to call and have a poll, see was it feasible to have it recorded. Am I correct?
Yeah, but here's the danger in that. The danger in that is some of these unpopular issues that people don't want the public to. The reason we started doing that, those unpopular issues that people didn't want the public to know about, they didn't want them recorded because they didn't want the public to know what they were doing. And it's the ones that people say, no, let's don't record that, are probably the ones that need to be recorded. I mean, I understand what you're talking about, Ed, from the standpoint of economy, and some of them are needless. And I don't mind if you want to have a consensus thing where the manager goes back and polls some people, but I think if any one commissioner not just says, I think we ought to record it, but I think what he has to say to the manager is, I demand that it be recorded, then I think it's recorded.
I can deal with that.
You know, because it's some of those things that I would agree with you with, we don't need to record.
I agree.
But by the same token, there's some things that...
The question that I have, I just don't know when we got off track here, because all of a sudden, I mean...
All you guys laid down and went to sleep, and I was the only one that was awake watching what was going on. That's why they were calling me, and I was saying, record it.
So I think we need to look at that. I mean, it costs us... Now, I'm not talking about our regular meeting or any other meetings in school, but I'm just talking about the school board have a special call meeting, or we have a special call meeting. We need to be polled to see if it's working.
Yeah.
We don't broadcast special call school board meetings as far as I know.
Well,
Yeah, we do. Some of them, yeah. Oh, yeah.
No, they never did that, huh? They never.
Regular meetings.
Well,
I mean, I don't have a problem. I mean, if
You're talking about county commissioner meetings?
Special school board meetings.
Oh, yeah, school board.
They never video.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with what you're saying, Ed, but be advised, if we have a special called meeting, we're dealing with the First Amendment next time rather than the Second Amendment, there's going to be an outcry that we take that special call meeting, whether y'all show up or not.
That's not county business, though.
Oh, yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
It's not.
Oh,
See,
yes.
it is.
See, this is where the rub comes into
you
this.
guys think that Obama's going to save you from everything, and my people say he's not.
Well, see, I don't think the resolution you just read is county business.
Oh, it is.
It is county
business.
It doesn't have anything to do with the business.
Oh, it does.
The county commissioners are the closest government to the people, and therefore we can be involved in anything. Show me in the statutes where there's a prohibition.
I didn't say there was. I just don't think I don't think we need to waste our time doing that stuff. We do better.
We waste a lot of times with things less important than the global war on terror. Trust me.
I mean, I could sit here and debate what's going on.
You want to debate?
Global war on terror with you, but I don't want to take the time to do it.
Well, but to expedite this thing and get us off this nut, what is wrong with what we talked about a minute ago? The manager polls. If a commissioner has to say, I demand that this one be filmed, and it's filmed. Otherwise, I'll agree with you on a lot of them that we don't need to film them. But you got to have a watchdog. I'm not going into a situation where just like you guys sat there and said, oh, that's none of our business. Illegal immigration is none of our business, so we're not going to film that. No, we're not going to do that.
Global war on terror is not important. Just die.
But the thing I say is, let's take a consensus that we'll take a head count. I mean, I don't care which way it goes.
But if a commissioner says, I demand, well, I'll tell you, no, I don't think we ought to record that. But if I say to the manager, I demand that this one be recorded, then it's recorded.
That's the problem with it, is one man get the chance to demand. I mean, the voices of the people are the majority.
The public knowing what we're doing is more important than anything, and I fought too long and too hard on closed meetings versus open meetings. I know the secrecy that goes on and has gone on in the past.
Okay, motion. Let's settle it that way.
It's not there right now.
What's the motion?
I make a motion that we poll the county manager poll us, and there's some special call meetings to see whether we will have them recorded.
And there will be a vote, and there will be a majority vote?
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to go for that.
Well, let's do my motion.
Because the majority won't.
You get a very weak board, we'll never talk
They're
about
going to
it.
keep the things secret they want to keep.
We've had weak boards in the past. It could
Have a
happen
motion
again.
and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? Okay, now that's over with. Let's move on.
4-3. You can rest assured that you guys start covering up stuff, you're going to be right back where you were before.
Good. I wasn't doing it to
Mr.
cover.
Chairman, may I speak to the press?
No, sir, not tonight.
Commissioner Richardson?
I'll speak for the press then, since you called on me, and that is the press has a right to come to these things and film these things, and they're to be notified about every one of them on every occasion.
Randy is not the press.
You cannot vote without it being an open meeting.
We didn't say that.
You said you were going to vote whether to record it or not.
That's right. He can't poll. What he's saying, I believe, to speak for him, is you can't poll the commissioners. That's a secret meeting. It has to be an open vote in an open meeting. And I think he's right.
Well, it's already lost, so what's the point?
So that's why I say move on.
I'm fine with it. I'm fine.
So there'll be no secret votes.
Your next item, Commissioner Richardson.
Okay. I hate to say bear with me, but that's what I'm going to have to say.
Well, I'm going to have
Gosh. You guys are funny. April report of the hospital board meeting. Let me see. I had that thing found a while ago. Basically, what happened at the last hospital board meeting is the hospital board is continuing to meet. We're trying to meet about once every quarter. When the minutes are approved at the next meeting, which will be in about 2 months, you'll get a copy of the meetings. We're going to start making those available to you. And I will ask Betty if I believe something else is important, because she serves on the hospital board, to please interrupt me. Basically, we meet and we vote to administer the paybacks or whatever we get as adjustments to Medicare and Medicaid reimbursements. we rolled back at the last meeting to the Vidant. We have approximately $8 million in the trust fund. We're rolling back about a $700,000 deal and a $200,000 deal to them based upon some misadjustments that Vidant made under the Stark law. And so those were rolled back to the, voted to roll back to the hospital board. The big debate that we had was that they couldn't tell us the basis that they went about for making those adjustments. What we worked out with their lawyer, who this wasn't really the Vidant hospital, this was Vidant's lawyers, but they were from Raleigh. What we worked out with them is that if there is ever a disagreement about these items, if there's ever a contest about these items, that Vidant will indemnify the hospital board. And that was the only basis that we were willing to do it on, because, and they are going to provide us with a schedule of how they went about making these, and they're going to provide us with an indemnity agreement, which has not come forward yet, and those funds are not authorized to be released until that happens. We at the last meeting, we bought a hospital errors and omissions policy for the board. We agreed to take about $200,000 of the escrowed funds and use those to clean up the underground storage tank situation at the hospital. So that's where we are. We are meeting as needed, but right now we're trying to meet once a quarter because we have all kinds of things that come in and go back and forth. At the moment, we had a $200,000 bill come in for adjustment of Medicaid funds, I believe it was, and we have a chief financial officer, thank goodness, because he knows how this stuff works, and he has told us that we should object to that particular bill. So we have not paid that bill. We're objecting to that, and we will use our accountants and et cetera to go forward with that particular item. Does anybody have any questions?
Not on that, but did you ever fill your position that you was talking about?
No, we have a vacancy on the hospital board, and we need someone who has financial / legal / operating experience in a business. We need someone who can contribute to the board from the standpoint of their expertise. And right now we have a pretty good board from that particular standpoint. We have another member of the board who would like to get off the board if we can find somebody to replace her. So if you know of people, bring me the names so that we can give them some consideration to serve on that particular board. Any more questions?
Mr. Chairman, can I?
Sure.
There's an item on here that is related to the hospital board in the county manager section, and it's reference to the disbursements. Somehow my name got put on in that 400-page document that was done. So I read the whole thing, and if I had seen my name in there, I would have objected to it. But apparently, when you all approved the agreement with Vidant/UHS, the county finance officer has to sign over on every one of those disbursements on behalf of the county. And if you start at page 294, there's 4 of them in there. 3 of them have already been dispersed. So I went ahead and signed those, but I'm bringing them before you now, hopefully to get formal approval. And what I'd like for you to do is direct, by motion, direct me to bring those to you all in the future before I sign them, which I'll be happy to do. And also, I would like direction to go ahead and sign these with the $752,000 one. I believe you're waiting on some additional information. Is that correct?
That's right. I believe that I told you I would not sign that until the indemnity agreement comes forth, because that's part of our stopgap on that.
And I'm comfortable. I'm sorry. I'm comfortable if you made a motion that directed me to sign it once the indemnity agreement is presented.
I mean, I don't have a problem with doing what you asked, but let me ask you this one thing. He's the expert on this and flying out.
I don't know about that, but go ahead.
But is this part of that trailing liability?
That's part of the trailing liability.
And now, I heard you say something about Medicaid and Medicare. We have to take some of that back.
Well, yeah, what we're doing is we're going, the government, nothing's ever up to date. We've gone back through like 2005, 6, 7, 8, 9 Medicare/Medicaid DISH adjustments and all those sorts of things. Those audits are still out there. And as they're done, they're coming to us for approval. Now, on one or two of them, we got some money back, but we didn't get anything like the money back.
And that goes up to what year? It goes up, how long?
2011 goes up to 11 months of the last year that the hospital was there, and then it's over with. Thank goodness.
That's when the liability ends.
No, that's when the liability under the audits end. The liability under the escrow does not end for 5 years after that date. That ends. And I can assure you that those people are working on that stuff right now because we've had to do some filings on that.
You making a motion, Hood?
I make a motion that we instruct the finance officer for the county to bring those disbursements to the county commissioners for approval before he signs off on them.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second? Second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor raise your right hand. Okay, that's 7-0.
Okay, now, you needed another motion.
I would like approval from the board to sign those 4 that are listed as item number 33 under county managers. Starting at page 294, there's 3 disbursements. 4, I'm sorry, total. 3 have already been dispersed that I'm aware of. The 4th, I would like permission to sign once the indemnity agreement has been produced.
Presented, right.
Yes. I think you can do all those in one motion.
Yes, I move that we do the things that Jim just listed.
Second.
Okay, have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Raise your right hand. I'm on board.
7-0.
Jim will give you the details on that, Madam Clerk. All right, the next item on my list, if that takes care of all that, I'm sorry I forgot you, Jim. That was discovered, Jim's sign-off was discovered, by the way, by an audit that the bank did. So, you know, that's how that came about. It was a surprise to everybody. The next item on here is the monthly jail reports. The monthly jail reports is about the same thing that it's been being. We had 69 people at the time the report was done, which is the last day of the month. Of those, 12 had been in there more than 6 months. That's 17% of the people that are in jail, some of them for up to 2.5 years. Attorney Ruffin has one of those. Attorney Fox has 3 of them. Attorney Stroud has 3. Hughes has 1. King has 1. Hoggard has 1. Bramble has 1, and Laughlin has 1. So we still got a lot of people in there. These things are not moving out. Some of the more recent 6-month stuff, because I count them when they've been in there longer than 6 months, and some of the people that had been in there 6 and 7 months suddenly got moved out last month, or we were going to have about 24. So this number was going to double this month. But they got in there and moved some of those out. But these old boys are still in there, and there needs to be pressure put on this. The district attorney needs to start calling these cases. There's no reason for these people to have been in here 2.5 years, even if it is murder. And we...
Do you believe the public defender's office is actually helping the situation?
Well, I haven't seen enough of his data yet to be sure. I mean, he's taking credit for a lot of stuff, and the jailer would probably have a better opinion than anybody else on that. But that's why I was asking him for a report that would be in a form that we can compare month to month or whenever, quarter to quarter, whenever we want him to report. But this is something that we need to keep pressure on, because I do believe that there's no doubt that putting the public light on this has made some things change, and that there are some things changing, and the system needs to work better. I'm concerned that we're only having Superior Court one week a month, and I have heard complaints that even during that week, they only had 2 days of work. So
that's in a trial week.
That's a trial week, yeah.
Trial week.
Yeah, and we need to take a look at that because that we need to have Superior Court more often. That will help us to get these cases on down the road, because if the guy is innocent, it is very unfair keeping him in there, and if he's guilty, it's unfair to us keeping him in there because we're paying for it. And if in these felonies and these other deals, they're going to wind up and be sent. He's going to be sent to Raleigh or somewhere else. He's off our hands. So it's money to the taxpayers of Beaufort County, and we need to be hotter on it than what we are.
This is admin week, Hood, so there'll be lots of cases taken care of this week.
That'll be great.
All right.
Status of personal property tax collection, we've done that. List of persons on pre-trial and other releases. Now, we didn't have that. We just...
You'll have it out.
Huh?
We'll handed that out.
It was brought in tonight, and I distributed it. You have
All right, I'll take it and look at it. It's too late for me to try to do anything with that. We need that next month, too, because we need to be doing some comparisons, look at this stuff to understand what's going on. The grand jury report is in here. It looked to me like Misa Rayner was the foreman of the grand jury. Was she? Okay. And she did a handwritten report that says basically that the jail was clean, that it looked better than she thought it would look, and concluded that we needed a jail, but never said why we needed a new jail. So it's a whole lot different report than the one the sheriff wrote for the grand jury last year, because it doesn't list all that stuff in there about the mold and all this other stuff that you knew that somebody wrote it for them. They did not write it. And I believe, that's all that I have, other than, when do you want to do the item that I moved up?
Do it now.
Okay. Each of you has a bundle of papers. Let me see if I can find mine. This has to do with an important issue for Beaufort County, and that is it has to do with the Soil Conservation Service in Beaufort County. And this, I'm going to try to make this as brief as I can in describing this. And I will get it down to its very essence, but I can get into a lot more detail if I need to. Basically, what's going on is that the federal government, in the form of the military, has found a way to acquire property rights all over eastern North Carolina for their own use in what I call a subversive way. The military puts up the money, and the Soil Conservation Service goes out and acquires they want to call them contracts. To me, they're leases, easements, or whatever else you want to call them, but they insist on calling them contracts. Those contracts are done under what they're calling a market-based program of determining the value, and they have laid out a 2-mile wide route that goes all the way from Onslow County to Wake County and back through Beaufort County for Marine Corps training. It's 2 miles wide. And they're saying that they will lease or rent from you the right to fly as low as 100 feet in that 2-mile strip. But you have to put a bid in to contract with them for a period of 10, 20, or 30 years, and you write down the amount per acre per year that you're willing to accept for that. And within the agreements, and you have copies of those contracts, within the contract, and this is a lease, they use the word contract simply so people won't know what's going on. It's called a conservation easement / military training easement. And they start off playing it up as being something for conservation. But when you read the contract, they have the right to fly. You cannot build a structure higher than 100 feet above the ground in the lease area. You cannot have any lights that are shining upward, and they have the right to fly down at that 100 feet. There's a title search is required in order for them to take over these rights. The document is recorded at the Register of Deeds. They use words, Billy, being an attorney, and Francisco, they use all of the words that are to subvert what it really is. They never say that this agreement runs with the land and all that kind of stuff. They do everything. They say everything else in the world but that. They say, oh, if you sell the property, then you have to get the new property owner to sign a new agreement. Well, why don't just say it runs with the land, and it's very easy to do this stuff in normal legalese.
In other words, if you don't get him to sign, you can't sell the land.
It's a subversive thing. There are provisions in the contract. That's right. There are provisions in the contract for default, and if you default, the foundation can enforce the contract. But it also says that if the foundation falls down on their job or for whatever reason can't perform, then any other federal entity that wants to can enforce the contract. And they talk about the Navy 4 or 5 times within that contract as being the enforcer of the contract. And we all know that it was the Navy that wanted the OLF. Bottom line, there's some law and particularly that has to do with oil and gas fields, and you say, what's that got to do with this? Well, there's some law that goes something like this. In acquiring common rights, we don't see this in North Carolina. You see it out where there's oil and gas and things like that. In acquiring common rights, if you acquire a certain percentage of the rights within an area, then you have set the value for that area. And let's take, we drill an oil well, and Francisco over there doesn't sign the lease for his property, and everybody else in here does. We're going to steal Francisco's oil. No, you're not. Because the law in these states, what it says is that you become some kind of a common area, and we're going to write Francisco a check for what we think we're taking off of his property, just like we do everybody else's property. The same thing is going to apply when you get into this. So what that means is that not everybody has to get into the lease in order for the military to wind up with perfect control of the situation.
It's got to have enough.
Now, you say, what is the value of my property for let somebody fly over it at 100 feet, and I'm not going to build anything higher than 100 feet, and we're going to call this a conservation easement, and I can't build any do any real estate development in that area. There will be no subdivisions. You can build farm buildings in there, but you can't build anything else. So what is the value of those development rights? Kind of hard to determine that in eastern North Carolina. That's why this thing is set up as a demonstration project, because they're going to allow the people in each county that are in these districts to bid for what they're willing to lease this to for the government. And at the end of the day, what they have done is they have determined what the value of those rights are. Because guess what? The federal government did not come to you and say, what is those rights worth? They said, you tell us, you bid to us for what we're willing to pay for these. So you decided what the rights are. And you will not be able to defend that in court. This is a very clever system that avoids the taking laws and all of this business that we went through with OLF, where they're going to take a big block of land that's contiguous and all this sort of stuff. It solves just about every problem that they ever had. They don't have to do an environmental assessment. They don't have an impact statement. They don't have to do all of those things. What does this mean to the people of Beaufort County? What it means is that if enough people sign these agreements, that the Navy can come in with their OLF and all they need is a landing strip. Now they don't have to spend all that other money. So this is a very subversive way about getting those rights. This is a demonstration project. Once they do this, then they can apply that anywhere in eastern North Carolina they want to, because they know what the values are. Determining these values is very important to their long-term goal. Now, the way they did this is, there's a memorandum of understanding in 2006, and the Defense Department puts up the money. In the particular case of the project that's going on right now, the Navy is putting up the money. The agreements say that. And the Department of Agriculture, your friendly neighborhood local, Mr. what was his name on Green Acres, that farm agent, he's going to come around. Who?
Mr. Haney.
No, it was Haney. Haney was the guy that sold the stuff. There's another guy. He comes around and signs you up for this stuff.
Who's Haney?
No.
What was it?
Mr. Green, James, but go on.
Go on. Anyway, he comes around and signs you up for this stuff. Now, in order to make it work, there is an association that does the same thing that the Association of County Commissioners does in Raleigh, and it is called the Soil and Water Conservation Foundation or something like that. That's not the exact name, because they went out and they started a nonprofit called Soil and Water Foundation with some more names with it. I can't remember what they are. And this is a nonprofit. The federal government has already paid some money to them to get this thing off the ground and running. We have been to them and asked to look at their books because they're a 501c3, and they have refused to let us know how much money they got. They've refused to let us know how the money is dispersed. They've refused to let us know a whole bunch of things that are not really legal that they can't do. But the foundation is contracting with Beaufort County Soil and Water Conservation Service right up there at the airport, your friendly local neighborhood farm agent, to get these contracts. They're going to pay them $150 for everybody that they get signed up. Okay? And it's going to be recorded at the courthouse, and your land is locked in. Now, for the terrible fight that we did with the Navy on the OLF and won, it would be a shame for us to get sold out in this manner. What I would suggest that we do, now, in order to get the money into the coffers so that they can use it, we have to have county approval. And we have to approve of this, and that's why I wanted this pulled out from the budget earlier. What I want us to do is tonight is to vote that we are not going to approve Beaufort County getting into this particular program and encumbering these people's land this way. Now, you say, well, you're stopping people from making money. No, the federal government's got the money. They can go to each individual farm owner that they want to and enter into a deal with them if they want to. It's just that the county is not going to become a tool, if you will, in this process and help to sell out our people. I've talked to the people in Washington County, commissioners up there, who stood with us in the OLF fight. They see it, this thing, just like I do. And that is, they are totally against it.
Make your motion.
Okay, yes, sir. I'm glad you got me off this. This one time, I'm glad. I move that the Beaufort County commissioners refuse to give our, I got to be careful with this wording, to give our permission to the Beaufort County Soil and Water Conservation Board to participate in the, what is this thing called? In the conservation initiative, in the market-based conservation initiative.
Is there a second?
Yeah, second.
Okay.
Hood, is this time sensitive?
It is, because what happened, to give you a little background, and I'll try to go fast with this, I've been to the last two Soil and Water Board conservation meetings, and I've said to them, please don't do anything to this, because we've got some other things going on that y'all are going to find out about shortly that we hope to end this week. Please don't do anything, because it's the same people that we're dealing with on that are trying to do this to us, and we didn't want to mess up that ball game. So what surprised me, I've said, please don't do anything until we do this. Now, I went to the April and the May meetings. Well, guess what happened when I went through my book today? The minutes from the March meeting are in here where that board had already approved this. They did not tell me that, and I would not have known it if I hadn't seen it in these minutes. So if their notice stays in these minutes and we do this budget, we have approved this thing by default.
Well, have you talked to any landowners?
Yeah, the landowners, I haven't talked to anybody that is for this, and I've written 2 articles on this, and I'll be making a presentation at the Northeast Commission meeting, which covers all those Northeast County meetings in a couple of weeks. But I have not heard anybody that, once they understand how subversive this program is, that is going along with it.
And I know the last time you and I talked, you said that it was hamper a lot of growth in the county if this passes.
It will.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. And then the other thing was, I don't know you was going to find out. You told me you were going to find out. I bet you didn't. About these guys erecting grain elevators and stuff. Remember, you said some of them is well over.
They can't erect them higher than 100 feet. We did ask, the last meeting, Soil and Water Conservation meeting that I went to, the foundation director was there, and he gave a dog and pony show, and he confirmed that you can't build anything over 100 feet.
Well,
and that was top. I'm not finished thing.
I'm sorry.
Good.
And that was, and you did cover the towers and everything. Anything over 100 feet is
forbidden. That's right. And this is enforced by the foundation, and if the right people don't enforce it, the U.S. Navy, and the contract, you've got a copy of it, very clearly says the Navy can come in and enforce it.
I have a question. So they say they can fly as low as 100 feet.
Yeah.
Wouldn't there be a buffer between what can actually be built and how high they can fly? Seems like it's a zero game there.
This is not a practical thing, because I can tell you this, that other branches of the military, Randall, stop me if I go too far, that we're talking to about this say 500 feet is as low as they want to fly.
Yeah.
And they say even with their ground sensing radar, that 500 feet is as low as we want to fly. And that's why we asked the question, why are you putting 100 feet in these things? And they want 100 feet in these things.
They want to close property off permanent.
That's exactly what is going to happen. And once they do this demonstration project and determine the values in 18 counties, all they got to do under the Constitution, here's how the takings law works under the Constitution. Stan, here's your check for $300,000. Get off your land. We're the U.S. government. There is no hearing. There is no procedure. That's a taking. They're going to do the same thing with these things. They're going to mail you a check and say, we're going to be flying low. Y'all watch out for us.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed.
Thank you very much. I really think you've done a great thing for the people of Beaufort County from what I know about this.
Does the Northeast Economic Development Commission still exist?
Yeah, we're still there. We're probably going to be there for another year.
They did put it in
Page 284.
Now that I don't know, but we're still going to be there for another year.
On page 284, we've got the monthly travel requests from each various departments: social services, sheriff's department, health department.
So
animal
last month
control.
we're going to do this, Mr. Manager?
That's correct.
But the information's still going to be in the book.
Yes.
You'll still get a listing of all that monthly travel.
But no votes.
Well, which means I can bring it up for discussion.
Okay. What's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve. Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, 5-2.
Page 285, you have three appointments, two appointments actually, deal with tonight.
That's the assessor and collector.
Make a motion.
We'd just be doing the assessor, I believe, under this.
Make a motion, we keep him for another 30 days. I make a motion that we assign Mr. Bobby Parker for another term.
Okay. I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand.
7-0.
Opposed? Okay. Do we need to reappoint him as tax collector as well, don't we, until you hire somebody?
Yeah.
You need to do that until we fill that position?
Well, you should have a tax collector.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Ryan, okay.
Same thing, so moved.
Second.
Second.
Well, what happens when we find the right guy?
Then he goes into that position.
Because, Bob, you understand that?
It's appointed, what it is.
Why don't we change this from 2-year term then to indefinite?
Make it a 1-year term.
What's your
It
deal?
is set. It is.
We're voted on.
It's set.
It has to be 2 years.
Okay.
By statute.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, 7-0. What are we going to do with this Economic Development Advisory municipal nominees?
I think this was, had been request, the board had directed that the clerk get confirmation of these appointments. I believe we've gotten most of them, but there's two we haven't heard
Bath
of.
and Bellhaven.
Isn't that correct, Judge?
I don't have a problem with if they're appointments. I don't have a problem with us accepting them unless there's some objection.
Well, the problem though, Ed, is they're not their appointments because their clerk hasn't certified that they've been appointed. So we got people that are showing up for a meeting.
Well, this is the third time that it's been up there. Well, what can we do to remedy this?
Well, that's why it's still there. Well, I can fix it, but it's kind of cruel. But, you know, I make a motion that the Bath and the Bellhaven representatives not be allowed to vote at future economic development meetings until they produce the proper documents from their clerk.
Second that.
Okay, have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? 7-0.
Madam, Mr. Chair, Madam Clerk, is there any way you can notify these people how you sent you this for them to send in their clarification?
I've been working on this since January.
She's been notified.
Well, yeah, they'll get the message now.
Face calls. I really am working trying to get them.
Thank you.
Next, you have the
Bath is a city councilman.
the request for one of the commissioners to have a discussion on advertising of board vacancies and committee vacancies that are appointed from time to time by the Board of Commissioners. And I discussed with a couple of commissioners, I believe, the possibility in the future that we would place these vacancies in a timely manner on the county website to let the public know that if you're interested, submit your name, submit a volunteer application, and you'll be considered by the commissioners.
I have something I want to say. Now, I've talked to you before, talked to Jim. I do not think it is a conflict for you to send me stuff for Beaufort County Now, and I not charge you, and do it as a press release. Just send it to me each
If I
time.
send it to all the press, that would be.
Exactly. You send it to all the press, and we do a press release.
Yeah, and we would do that, send it to all the papers, written papers, and
Yes.
all that.
It is.
TV stations as well.
Write it as a press release. That's all I ask.
That's everything?
Is that consensus, that that's okay to
That's
proceed
fine.
to do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fine.
All right, motion to adjourn.
Wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute.
Okay.
I got one thing y'all haven't done.
Yeah, we have a end-of-year budget amendments that you have a handout up there.
Okay.
And Jim's going to explain those.
Mr. Chairman, the budget amendments, there's one item in there that's driving the majority of that. It's about $1.6 million from the Water District Limited Obligation Bond funding. It's pass-through money. And looking through the disbursements and your approvals, I didn't feel like it was laid out as clearly by line item, so I'm just seeking formal approval for that. Even though we have approval for the disbursement, I'm just seeking that in a more formal format. But other than that, these are end-of-the-year budget amendments that we try to tie up. Page 2 is the two other funds that also seeking amendments for.
What page are you on, Jim?
It's a handout.
I'm sorry, it was a handout that we, it's a 2-page.
I think I have it. It's on. Oh, okay.
I don't know, it might be up there.
You got it?
Have you got it? This is right here.
Yeah, I had it.
Is there a motion?
Now, what are we voting on? Say that again?
There's 2 pages of amendments. The first page is general fund budget amendments, and what I was pointing out is of the amount of the 1.9 million, 1.6 million of it is related to refunding, and you all already approved that.
Oh, yeah.
But I didn't feel we have not done the actual adjustments in the budget system because I didn't break them out by line item. Our auditors like to see that when they go back through, so I'm just seeking formal approval from you now to adjust that, and those are pass-through amendments.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
I have one discussion thing. When we get these, can you give us the adjusted value of the budget year to date?
Yes, sir. And probably a format that you would like to see, as I'm thinking about that, is you want to see original adopted budget, recommended amendment, and then new budget is the way I could do that. So the columns would be the original adopted budget, recommended amendment, and then new budget.
That would be great if we could see that, and then we'll have a running tally on.
We can start.
All the budget
preparing
adjustments.
those for the new fiscal year. All those will be like that. We can
Okay. All right, I'm ready to vote, Mr. Chairman.
All right, all in favor, raise your right hand. 7-0.
One more item, and that is to approve the records retention and disposition schedule for the county manager's office, the register of deeds, and the tax administrator.
So moved.
A motion, is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
All right.
7-0.
I got my one little item here, is item J in your book, resolution in opposition to the so-called Gang of Eight Senate immigration bill. This has to do with immigration and the fact that these guys don't really want to do anything about it. And I won't read the whereases. I'll take you down to what we're voting on. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Beaufort County Board of Commissioners support the recommendations of the National Immigration Group, Numbers USA, and encourages 5 solutions to the immigration policy. End chain migration, verifiable visa entry and exit system, end the visa lottery, end the birthright citizenship, federal help for states to combat immigration problems.
The one issue, number 4, you're going to have to change the Constitution on that one.
I know, but that's still, it's a resolution, so.
Explain, that's if they're born here, they're not citizens?
No, if they're born here, they are citizens.
What I'm saying, you're saying, what you want to do is change it to say they're
change the Constitution so that at
the
least.
Constitution of the United States.
Yeah, they have to be born here, and at least one parent has to be a U.S. citizen when they're born.
Yeah.
So that can cause a lot of problems.
It can be done, but it's going to be very, very difficult, Hood.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed?
We caught all the liberals again.
4-3.
Well, you know,
Motion to
sometimes the
adjourn.
Constitution should be changed.
We're adjourned.
You know, and if people change it, it's changed. That's the way it works, right? Yeah, I agree with you on that. Anchor baby. I agree. But see, you change that. I forget what the new name is. Is it?
Behind us. Right now, no, y'all constitution hasn't changed, but
Have another one. Yeah,
That's right.
I think I'm trying to get off my game. And maybe it's just my mood. It pissed me off.
oh, they just do things to piss you off. What you got to do? What you got to do is find things that piss them off.
Always good seeing you in the debate.
It's such a serious situation.
A lot of times,
They just all of a sudden like, oh my God, we got children down there. They're fucking stupid.
Say now, we got Big Al. Big Al voted with the Democrats. There ain't no question
On one,
about what he
but he